Good evening, everyone. Wagwan, what you telling me? Yo, I messed up the intro, but it's gonna have to do. I hope you're doing well. Apologies for the lateness if you're here watching live. But yes, gotta get it done. Had to try and get this set up. Not long, just come back from a trim, as you can see. Looking fresh, getting ready for the weekend. Bit tired, it's the end of the weekend. I get a lion tomorrow, so I'm pretty happy. But here we are, bringing you this Premier League preview once again. Can't let it down. Need to be bringing that information. So let's get it kicked off and started. Sorry, my preparation isn't quite on point yet. I need to get the fixtures up for you so I can send them. And so it looks proper and professional. Apologies. Here we go. Gonna get them ready for you now. And about to share the screen. Yes. See, I'm running late and I'm still not even ready yet. Come on, Tariq. What's this? Tariq talks. Shocking. Here we go. Got it up and ready. Let's start off with this game over here. Liverpool versus Burnley, the 12:30 kickoff there at Anfield. First game back for Liverpool with their fans at full capacity. So it's going to be interesting. The last time we saw them at full capacity, it was in the season that they won the league, so they didn't even get to see them lift the trophy with armpits and everything. Well, let's get kicked off into it. So for team news, Thiago, Jordan Henderson, and Curtis Jones all returned for the Reds. Fabinho had to do with a substitute appearance as he was mourning the loss of his father. I just want to send condolences out to Fabinho. It's a horrible time living in this period, in this part of life. Life's hard already, but with this period that we're in right now with coronavirus, and just send my condolences out to Fabinho. So that looks, and also at left back, Kostas Tsimikas will continue to deputise for Andy Robertson. Those who have had him in the fantasy football team, have already increased by 0.1 million, so he's already increasing in his price. So when I look at this game, Liverpool versus Burnley, with the news that the midfield trio is back, I do expect Thiago and Jordan Henderson to come and play. I think they're playing the midweek game, which was a behind a closed door friendly against Aston Villa. I think that was in the weekend, actually. So, yeah. For me, Burnley do have a decent record at Anfield. They don't really concede many goals. They won their last season, of course. I think they were the first team to win at Anfield in a long time. But then they just they went on that run of 6 games without a win at Anfield. I think it was 60 weeks in a row, wasn't it, for Liverpool? So, yeah, horrible times with their injury issues. For me, though, it's got to be a Liverpool win. First game back with the fans. I do think it has a massive impact on these types of games, especially at Anfield. If we are talking Premier League crowds, Liverpool do boast probably one of the best ones when they can get it rocking. And I've been to Anfield when I went. It was a West Brom away. The crowd wasn't rocking then; it was poor. The West Brom fans were louder, as away fans generally tend to be. But at Anfield, this is a big moment. They're back, full capacity. The Liverpool fans there to cheer the boys on. So I can only see a Liverpool win. For me, I've gone with a 2-0 victory for Liverpool. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Liverpool, you got to run out with this one. Thiago, Henderson back. Fabinho may start as well. Van Dijk regaining fitness. Alisson back in goal. As a Tsimikas, he'll play, but he's kind of performed and he's kind of looked decent. He's looked way better than he has done previously in his first season. Burnley, as I said, for me, I think they're a risk of going down. They took the lead against Brighton very early on last weekend and eventually did end up losing. Felt like I had egg on my face in the first couple of minutes because I think Southampton were leading, Burnley were leading at the same time, and I was like, I've all predicted these to have a terrible season and they're about to start off with a win. And Watford will be leading as well. Nobody predicted that. So for me, I'm going to go with a 2-0 win for Liverpool in this game. Keep a clean sheet. Mo Salah. I think I'm going to captain you, man. I ain't sorted out the fancy Premier League team yet, but I'll sort that out. And it's going to be Mo Salah or Fernandes captain. And yeah, I'm going to go for Mo Salah. So 2-0 for Liverpool. Next game is Aston Villa versus Newcastle. Here's some team news for you. The Villains will be without Trezeguet and Morgan Sanson through injury, but Douglas Luiz could be available as he returned to training following the Olympics. That is, for me, is a big, massive plus for Aston Villa. He's a key player in that team and quite underrated from like the casual fans' point of view. If you're not a Villa fan, you're not really going to notice Douglas Luiz's presence. He does make a massive difference there. He's that ball winner. He sets the tempo, whereas he allows John McGinn to really drift and be at 8 as a box-to-box midfielder. And Marvelous Nakamba, as we saw on the weekend, just isn't up to the same level as Douglas Luiz. So that's a big plus, and hopefully that Villa, in Villa Van's case, that they can get him fit and firing and back ready. Jacob Ramsey could be pushing for a start after his impressive cameo off the bench in Villa's 3-2 defeat to Watford. Yeah, he looked pretty good when he came on. I remember when I was watching BT Score live, and I was keeping up to date, and I was like talking about his impact. But then when I saw on Match of the Day, he really did look like he made a difference. He had a couple of chances. It's a big season for Jacob Ramsey, as you can probably imagine. He's taken over in that centre attacking midfielder spot in that 10 position, which Ross Barkley occupied at the beginning of last season and started to impress in a Villa shirt. So, but he tailed off towards the end, picked up an injury. Ross Barkley's inconsistencies. Everton fans, Chelsea fans, you'll know that. On his day, he can be fantastic, but you know, as he was at Aston Villa. But yeah, Jacob Ramsey, big one, big time for him, and hopefully he does kick on because I do like the talent. He's quite good. He's quite mature as well. Makes the right decisions in a final third for a player of his age. And yet, I think he'll be eased in. I don't think this will be his breakout season, but it could be. And, you know, he's got huge boots to fill in Jack Grealish, is number 10, but I feel like that will be given responsibility to other players. Also, Ollie Watkins could feature, but is likely to start on the bench. Sorry, let me just sort out my microphone here. Maybe that sounds better, especially when I look over here, it's projected. Yeah, Ollie Watkins for me. He does look like he will have a bench appearance. He may come up. He may come up off the bench. Don't think he will start in this game. So for that reason, yeah, I will say, yeah, I do think that they will give a start to Leon Bailey and Emi Buendia, and Danny Ings will start up front. That's just my guess after what I've saw. For Newcastle, though, Martin Dubravka and Paul Dummett remain out while Carl Darlow is struggling to recover from his bout with coronavirus. Jamal Lascelles was an unused substitute in the defeat to West Ham due to a lack of fitness, but he is expected to return for the side as the captain of the club. Once again, as I kind of mentioned with Douglas Luiz, Jamal Lascelles is a key player for Newcastle, a rock in that defence, and we know how Steve Bruce builds his team around having a solid, stable defence and counter-attacking with the likes of St. Maximan, Callum Wilson, Almiron. And yeah, Jamal Lascelles, the captain of the club, he's their best defender in my opinion. And you know, some people have been calling that, why isn't Jamal Lascelles getting that England call up? Yeah, it's the same thing as when I look at the players like Lewis Dunk. They are good defenders, but at that level, I don't think that they're up to it. But in Newcastle's eyes, it's a key player. And for what Newcastle's ambitions and expectations are, you've got to keep your players like Jamal Lascelles fit, get them into the squad. Struggled as they conceded 4 goals last weekend. But yeah, with Villa, so my prediction for this game, I've been broken that down. I did go with a Villa win last weekend. I'm sure most of you thought Villa would win. For me, Villa have to win this one. Newcastle didn't look that impressive at all and looked like they could have problems. Of course, Joe Willock could play. Forgot about mentioning that. Joe Willock's fit as well. Joe Willock could make a difference for Newcastle's midfield, but he's more of a goal-scoring midfielder rather than someone who's going to shore that up a little bit more. Newcastle definitely have to shore their defence up after last week's performance. If not, it'll be a similar scoreline again, given Aston Villa's prowess and attack. And for that reason, I'm going to go for a Villa win. I'm going to go 3-1. They've got to turn it around. They've got to, after a poor performance, especially in the first half, Matty Target, retire, throw them boots away, man, after what Ismail Assar done to you. Nah, but this is his chance to recover. And he might start left back. It might be Ashley Young. We'll see. But next game for me, Crystal Palace versus Brentford, a London derby. Once again for Brentford. Conor Gallagher was ineligible to play against his parent club last weekend, so he's available for selection. Joachim Andersen and Christian Benteke were only deemed fit enough for the bench, but could start for the Eagles this weekend. Luka Milivojevic is a doubt for the personal reasons, as well as Ebere Eze, Michael Olise, and Nathan Ferguson. Now for Brentford, Josh De Silva and Matthias Jensen are still out, so an unchanged team is expected for the Bees as they travel to the south of the river for another London derby. For that reason, Conor Gallagher, I think he will make a positive difference into that Crystal Palace midfield. He's a good player. He was a good player out on loan. West Brom fans enjoyed him for the stint. Yeah, I thought he was a decent player for West Brom. Scored a couple goals there as well. I remember, did he score a couple? I can just remember him scoring against Sheffield United in a win. I mean, everybody beat Sheffield United last season, so I guess it's not that impressive. Well, ask Man United at home. They didn't. But play against his parent club. Yeah, so he's going to come in. I think, will Patrick Vieira start him? Not too sure. He definitely needs to start Joachim Andersen for me. I don't know the specific reasons to why he didn't start him. I think it's probably to do with fitness issues again. But for me, he's a key defender for Crystal Palace. You've got to be building your defence around that sort of player. He got relegated with Fulham last season, but he was a standout performer for them, and he was impressive. And obviously earned himself a move to Crystal Palace off the back of his performances. And Christian Benteke is a very streaky striker. Like, when he catches form, he's hot, and he's one of the most unplayable strikers, especially when you play to his strengths. He's a bit like an Andy Carroll when you play to his strengths. Crosses into the box, headers. He's unbeat. Like, no defender can really match up to that. So, bought with the three across the back for Brentford, and after their impressive performance against Arsenal, which was a much changed Arsenal team, and for reasons that have now been made aware of, that you can't still knock the Bees' performance. And for me, given Patrick Vieira's teething problems, I do think he will struggle to begin with his key creative players like Michael Olise and Ebere Eze out. Reliance upon Zaha is huge. I know he's used to that. He's used to having that sort of pressure at Crystal Palace, and he seems to thrive in that big fish in a small pond. I think that's the type of player he is. That's probably why we've seen him at Palace, and teams have been reluctant to make that gamble upon Wilfried Zaha after his Manchester United career, which is a much more mature player, of course. But yeah, for me, for that reason, I'm going to go for a Brentford victory, and it's quite a bit as well. And the Crystal Palace faithful as well. They're a big crowd. They're one of the best Premier League teams in terms of stadium atmosphere with that small, compact ground. And then the Palace ultras in that corner making a noise, banging a drum. They can generate up a good atmosphere, and that might lead to something for Palace. And was the Bees, did they flatter to deceive? Maybe. We'll have to wait and see. So for that reason, you know what? I'm going to go for it. 3-1 to Brentford. It's a big shout, that is. I could definitely see myself being wrong, and it could definitely finish 3-1 to Crystal Palace in the other way. I'm aware of that. It's a toss-up, really. We're going to have to wait and see. But this looks like an interesting game to me. Leeds versus Everton at Ellen Road. What a big game this is now. Especially bringing back Leeds United back in the Premier League with the fans. I know they were here last season, of course, but with the fans at Leeds, yeah, this is going to be exciting. For those young people out there who haven't really seen what a crowd or the atmosphere that Leeds can generate, they will be one of the best atmospheres in the Premier League. If those young people as well, I don't think you realise how big of a club Leeds are and how hated their fans are because of how they generate that atmosphere and make it a hostile place. So for Leeds, it's going to be interesting to see how the fans whip up this team. And this team as well, very energetic. They do seem to feed off of the crowd's energy, especially towards the start of the season as well. First Premier League game. Everton are going to find that difficult, but let's get into the team news. This game comes too soon for Diego Llorente, the centre-back, but Calvin Phillips could return to the side. Massive plus, that is. We're talking about them centre defensive midfielders and talking about Douglas Luiz's importance. Calvin Phillips has the exact same, if not greater level for Leeds United, given the way that they play with that pivot, that man in the pivot, dictating play, breaking play up as well. Calvin Phillips, big player for Leeds. Stuart Dallas could return in midfield as Junior Firpo made his debut at left back off the bench in last week's 5-1 defeat. Yeah, I probably do see that happening. I feel like he brings a better balance. A left-footed player generally tends to bring a better balance, especially going forward as well. To the side, gives that width. I know that Jack Harrison does that as well, playing off the left-hand side. He's a left-footed winger, so he does provide that balance for Leeds and that energy and that creativity. And hopefully that Junior Firpo can, from what I've seen of him, I think he's more of a defensive fullback. He will give you defensive stability. I've seen him play for Real Betis in that left centre-back position in the three at the back. So he is very good defensively. He's got a bit of pace about him as well. So let's see what he's like going forward. I'm sure playing with Barcelona, you know, you probably would learn a thing or two playing forward with the likes of Jordi Alba. For Everton, though, Jared Braithwaite will miss out due to injury, whilst Ben Godfrey and Jean-Philippe Baumann could return to the side after self-isolation regulations. The same can be said for Moise Kean and James Rodriguez, but Andre Gomez will be assessed ahead of the game after picking up a knock. You're really starting to see now with COVID, by the way, it is really like with the way the world's going on at the moment, unless you've got it, yes, you'll understand. But it's kind of like we've tried to move past that. But when you're looking at things like football, seeing things with festivals as well, I've noticed a lot of tickets are being sold online because people are picking up COVID or, you know, having to self-isolate due to being in close contact with someone with COVID or the ping and that. Yeah, it's still here and it's still rife. And it's causing a lot of issues to the game, as we see all with Arsenal. If you're an Arsenal fan watching this, you know how much about that now. So, yeah, for that reason, I think it will be a tight game. And you know what? Initially, I've gone with a 2-2 draw for this one. But I do, thinking about it, and especially talking about it at the start, the Leeds crowd, nah, too much for me. I'm going for a 2-1 Leeds win, you know, 2-1. Yeah, difficult because Rafa Benitez is a good manager. Everton are a good side, but 2-1 Leeds win. Come on. You got to go for it, really. Manchester City versus Norwich at the Etihad Stadium. I'm going to go into the team news. I don't think I could need to spend too long on this game talking about what's going to happen because I think it's quite obvious. Phil Foden will definitely be out, whereas Ilkay Gundogan could feature in the starting 11 as the shoulder injury is not as bad as first feared. Yeah, he picked that one up towards the end of the game. I remember seeing at the final whistle. I was kind of interested to see like how bad it was. Didn't really get to see it because, you know, the focus was on Spurs beating Man City, Jack Grealish's first game, you know, Harry Kane, etc. But yeah, thankfully, if you're a Man City fan, it's not as bad as first feared. Changes expected to be made for Pep Guardiola as Kyle Walker, John Stones, Alexander Zinchenko, and his lookalike Kevin De Bruyne could start for their first games of the season for the Citizens. When you're bringing that level of talent into the team, yes, Hayden, let me just give you a quick shout, bro. Wait, I can't get my mouse down. There we go. Yes, bro, Leeds win. Yeah, I've gone for that now as well. Yeah, you've convinced me, man. But yes, back in terms of this Man City game, when you're bringing that level of talent off of the bench, if you saw their bench on the weekend, it's ridiculous. You can't. Is it really fair? But it's Man City. At the end of the day, we know how to bend the rules, especially when it comes to financial fair play. But you know that level of talent on the bench it's ridiculous. But they still couldn't grab the victory against Tottenham, so Nuno and Spurs fans would be happy about that. Even though they lost to Pacos de Ferreira, this is a Spurs thing to do. That is what Spurs do. They pick up a victory like that. They think it's all rosy. Nuno's at the wheel. How good does it feel? Do you know what I mean? But then have a look what happens there. On Spursy. I know I can't really be saying too much at the moment with Arsenal and the mess that they're in. But, you know, it's Spurs at the end of the day. Back to this game anyway. For Norwich, Sam Byram is out with a thigh problem, whilst Onel Hernandez, Jordan Hugo, and Jordan, why did I say it? It's such a like French accent. And here we go. Przemysław Placheta, is that right? He's Polish, isn't it? So if any Polish people are watching, please correct me. And if I is right, give myself a clap. If I'm wrong, slap in the face. I doubt due to coronavirus and rules on self-isolation. Oh, they could have them anyway. I don't care. This is definitely a Norwich loss, and I've gone for a 4-0 victory for Man City. Anyone got any FPL players for Manchester City watching this? I don't think that many people do, because you never know with Pep Guardiola, with the pet roulette that he plays. Yeah, I'm not too sure if I want to play that. I've got Ruben Dias in my team. I think he's a guy that will play most games week in, week out. When the Champions League rolls around, no, I'm not too sure. I think the only player that you can really rely on is Edison, but then even he picks up injuries and like things at time to time. So yeah, 4-0 victory for Man City. I'm not going to spend too much time on that one. Brighton versus Watford. Here we go. So Brighton versus Watford at the Amex Stadium. The Seagulls are expected to be without former Watford striker himself, Danny Welbeck, and Tariq Lamptey due to hamstring injuries. Both of them too injury prone. I love Tariq Lamptey when he plays, but for me, nah, man. I wouldn't sign him for Arsenal. We've been linked with him in the past, but with those consistent injury problems at such a young age as well, he's had serious hamstring issues as well. For me, I'd say clear. At least see if he can get minimum 30 games over 2 seasons for me, because it's a big risk signing a player like that, and I do think it would probably be a big outlay as well. So we do need a right back, but I wouldn't go for Lamptey at this moment in time. While Dan Burn and Moises Caicedo are ruled out with knee injuries, Aaron Connolly and Percy Tau, who missed last week's game due to personal problems, remain doubtful. Joel Veltman also missed the opening game due to being in close contact with someone who tested positive. However, the defender could start against the Hornets. Watford have been dealt a huge blow as summer signing Joruj Kuchka could be sidelined for up to 3 months with a leg injury sustained in the victory against Aston Villa. João Pedro and Joshua King are out with knee and groin injuries, respectively. Duo Kiko Femenia and Domingos Quina return to training and could be in contention to feature for the Hornets, while Will Hughes is unlikely to feature as he trained with the under-23s amid a contract standoff with the club. Watford impressed on the weekend. Before I carry on, just got to give a big shout out to another Wolves fan here, Jake. Good to see these live streams. Hope you're well. I'm doing good, man. Thank you for joining me right here. I appreciate that. Whilst I'm also here as well, here in Brazil, we think that European teams play the Club World Cup with no desire. Do you think Flamengo and Liverpool was a difficult game, or Liverpool really didn't play to the fullest? For me, do you know what, Mike? In Brazil, I know the Club World Cup is huge, and it is a massive opportunity for Brazilian and South American teams to really try and impress again on the world stage in terms of club football. For me, I feel like it's quite hard for English teams, especially when they're playing the Club World Cup, given to how intense the fixture schedule is around that Christmas period. You know, and they're having to go mid-season, fly out, and play those games in a short space of time and come back and focus on a league season. So in a way, I do think you're probably right. It's difficult for us to play to the fullest. So yeah, I do actually agree with you. And I remember that because that's where Pablo Mari played for Flamengo. And off the back of that, Arsenal signed him. So it was a good game, 1-0 victory. I was happy. So yeah, I do think you have a point there. It's not as prestigious or as to the fan base as like a Premier League is, but it should be something not to be sniffed at. Chelsea have never won it. Chelsea need, that's the one trophy that Chelsea now need after winning the Super Cup. So I think you've got a good point there, Mike. And you know what? If my team was in the Club World Cup, that means we'd have won the Champions League. I'd want to win it. So I think football's about winning trophies. And at that level, it technically in the rankings, that is the best club trophy you can get. Of course, it's not the most illustrious or elusive trophy, shall I say. But as it's a Club World Cup and you're facing against the best Asian teams, South American teams. So, yeah, I do think you're right. It would be nice to see a club take that seriously. And let's see if Chelsea can do it this season. Thank you for your comment, Mike. Thank you for being here. Also, so Brighton versus Watford. For me, I'm just going to go with a 2-0 victory there. 2-0 victory for Brighton. I don't think the start for Watford will remain as good as it has been. I think they came up at the perfect time and against that Villa team that aren't quite settled with a new with new players, with their complete brand new way of attacking. Now that Jack Grealish has gone, they've got to gel together. They've got to get players fit. They've had the likes of Douglas Luiz out, so Watford really did pounce, and they did have a good start. They were impressive. Got to hold my hands up. They were better than I thought, with dangerous players like Ismaila Sarr, Emmanuel Dennis, Ken Sema as well. He caused Arsenal problems when he played for Aston. I definitely remember that. So yeah, 2-0 victory for Brighton. Next game, I spent too long on that one. Southampton versus Manchester United. I haven't actually done my research for this game, so we can do it together right now. Why not? Why not? Southampton versus Man United team news. Let's go. Yeah, this one right here. Match preview. Agree. Let's not watch these news too much. As we can see, Rafael Varane looks like he'll be getting his first start. But Southampton will be, again, without the services of Sam McQueen and William Smallbone through injury. Not key players for Southampton anyway, so it's not that important. James Ward-Prowse, fresh from signing a long-term contract. It was linked to Villa. Could probably, I think, is a bullet dodge by Aston Villa there. So they've done something well not to get him. While Che Adams, Stuart Armstrong, and Moussa Djenepo are all expected to be in the first team. Kyle Walker-Peters was an unused substitute against Everton last weekend, but could come into the side for the clash with the 20-time English champions. Tino Livramento, he had an excellent game, in my opinion, when I saw him play there. Let me just bring this screen here so I don't have to share that directly. Tino Livramento, he was class, by the way. It's another right back coming from Chelsea's team that they've just seemed to pluck out of nowhere out of their academy. Can you give one to Arsenal, please? That's the type of Chelsea players I want to be signing. Man United, meanwhile, remain without the services of Marcus Rashford, Alex Telles, Dean Henderson, and Phil Jones, who's unlikely to be, nobody expects Phil Jones to play anyway. Jesse Lingard's in contention to be back in the squad, while Edison Cavani is back in training and could potentially be named in the squad. That would be big for Man United. I remember he came on and made a massive difference in that game. So if we can see that happening again, be a good game. Will we see Varane? I'm not too sure. It doesn't say anything about Varane here. Is there something that anyone's heard about Varane? Please let me know in the comments below or in the stream whilst you're watching it now. In the predictive lineup there, they don't think that he will play. But for me, this has got to be a Man United win. Southampton, they're struggling this season with losing key players like Bertrand, Danny Ings. So, yeah. For me, and Vestergaard as well, most importantly. They were shipping a lot of goals anyway with Vestergaard there, who's one of their best defenders. So for me, no Phil Jones, Hayden, of course not. You know what? Take him at the Wolves. We'll take him ahead of Kilman, yeah? Nah. I'm only joking. Of course not. I actually rate Kilman. But yeah, for me, Man United, easily win. I'm going for Hayden's here for Wolves versus Spurs. Apologies, guys. I haven't gone into this game. I was running a little bit late, actually, so I couldn't get my research on the notes on this game. So I'm doing it now as we speak. So let's go into that game right now. After, by the way, Wolves were quite impressive, in my opinion, in that game. They did have chances to score against Leicester. So they won't be as easy. And I think they will have a better start to the season than some Wolves fans imagine. Before I go into the team right now, let's see what Jake's saying. With all the United midfielders, how do you make your players happy? It's a brilliant and fantastic point you've raised there, because I've tried to say this and speak to Man United fans. How are they going to play Pogba, Rashford, Bruno, Jesse Lingard, Donny van der Beek, Juan Mata, Nemanja Matic, Fred, McTominay? I'm sure I'm missing players like wingers like Sancho, Dan James, Amad Diallo. How are they going to find game time for all of them? And especially, where's Pogba going to play in the big games when Rashford's back? For me, I genuinely don't see that happening, because when Pogba, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer doesn't like to play Pogba in that 6 role, and he doesn't like having one player holding that position, because they don't have that type of player. They need an Ndidi or a Bissouma. That would transform Man United, and they would be serious title contenders, even with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, if they had that. But they have to play those two midfield, because one of them, either of them aren't good enough to play as the one, and where you could release Pogba a bit more. His concentration defense, we know Pogba's skills and his brilliance, but his concentration defensively is lacking. He can make a tackle, he can defend, but he just can't concentrate long enough to do it. So for that reason, I think it is a struggle for Oli to keep these players happy. If he can, fair play to him. I think he'd have to win a trophy to keep these types of players happy. But even Pep Guardiola struggling to keep the likes of Bernardo Silva and them guys. So yeah, it's going to be a difficult one for that one. And that's a good point you brought up, Jake. No chance. So in this game, indeed, Johnny, Willy Bolly, Pedro Neto, Daniel Podence, Mosquera, and Hugo Bueno are still on the sidelines. Those are some big players as well, like Willy Bolly, Pedro Neto, Johnny, Daniel Podence, and Mosquera, who's had a decent pre-season for Wolves after speaking to some Wolves fans. What do you think about Mosquera? You guys in the chat. New signings, Trincao, supported Raul Jimenez. And why am I saying in such an accent? I feel like Derek Ray. Adama Traore in the final third against Leicester, and that could be the case this weekend with Ruben Neves and João Moutinho featuring in the centre midfield. A back three, including Max Kilman, but Nelson. A back three could also include Max Kilman again, who I think had a good game, and he looked a threat going forward as well. As I said, I rate Max Kilman. He's a former futsal player as well, so he's got that bit of technical ability to him as well. You can see that in his game. So yeah, and with his big frame as well, you know what? It would be a decent signing for a European club, at least as a squad player. But better than Cody. See, it's a shout, that is. You know what? I rate, yeah. He's got more to his game than Connor Cody. I definitely agree with you on that, Hayden. So he's left-footed, he's both-footed. He's very two-footed as well. So it's interesting to see. But Nelson Semedo, Fabio Silva, and Leander Dendonca are all knocking on the door. So yeah, you know what? Wolves do have a decent squad when you look at it now. You are starting to bring in a bit more squad depth that Nuno didn't really like. But Bruno Lage, that's how you pronounce it, is starting to. Yes, they're quite young players like Mosquera and Hugo Bueno, but is using a bit of the squad a bit more. Spurs, after we saw him midweek, come on, they got to be bringing that again. Connor Cody being in the Wolves team this year is criminal. Oh, that's a big shout, It's your club captain. That's your leader, man. In the dressing room. You know what? You're probably right, though. Especially if you play a 4 at the back at some point. You can't be playing Connor Cody there. Really don't rate Fabio Silva. Do you know what, Jake? Yeah, I'm of that same opinion, But I was looking at him and I was like, this guy's a shocking footballer. But you got to remember, at the end of the day, the kid's 18, yeah. He's come with barely any first team appearances. He didn't play that many games at Porto either. You signed him for a huge fee without that many career appearances in the first team. So I understand what you're saying. He has looked poor. I don't think he's ready for first team football yet. But, we may see something out of him in the future. All he brings is communication. That big mouth, he's the loudest talker. He was the loudest talker in the England dressing room as well. But yeah, to do with Connor Cody, I don't think he's in this likely lineup, however accurate this is. But he's probably likely to start as he's the club captain. But with Fabio Silva, you know what? We'll see this season. You give him time. Jay, you might be right. I do agree with you in that way, but I'm just to play devil's advocate. I'm going to say he's a decent player. That's true. Made more money already. Yeah, it's easy to say that with footballers, but they are very much in a fortunate position, in where they be in the profession that they're in. I'm not even joking when I say this. Yes, footballers have to be dedicated. In terms of mentality, the cream does rise to the top. If you've got that mentality to be a footballer, you will make it, no matter, as long as you've got some talent, of course. But you will find talented players of the same level, if not better, in the lower leagues. They just probably don't have that same work ethic mentality. They can't deal with the same pressures. Physically, they can't deal with it as well. But in terms of talent, you don't rule that out. You will find players who are just as talented in lower leagues. Look at Jamie Vardy, age of 23. What was he doing? Now he's one of the greatest strikers to ever play in the Premier League, if you look at the stats and his trophy as well. The board at Wolves are real criminals. No signings with 11 days to go. You know what? I see where your frustration is coming, because you do need to increase that squad depth a little bit more. And I believe you need to improve on the first 11. I don't think Jose Sarr is good enough, but you're not going to recruit in that position. With the likes of Willy Bolly being injured, I do think you probably need another defender. However, I do rate Key Hoover. I do think he's a very good right back who's going to become a centre back in the future for me. I think, yeah, I do rate him a lot. Neves and Matino's legs are going a bit, and I think you do need someone to partner Neves to probably free up Neves a little bit more in that midfield after we saw him get absolutely spun by Ricardo Pereira last weekend. You know, like, João Matino still got the quality. He's still one of the best ball-playing midfielders in the league in terms of that, but he just doesn't have the legs to suit the Premier League anymore. But there is chance to be positives. You've got decent wingers. You've got Francisco Trincao, Pedro Neto still to come back with Daniel Pedence, and Adama Traore. Maybe need that other striker if Fabio Silva doesn't bang, of course. What happened to us then, bro? Lol. Yeah, I know. Basically, I've not even gone into the game. But as we know that Tottenham will struggle, as I don't think that Harry Kane will play in this game. They are bounced after the win against Man City. Be a completely different game. It will be a different game. Don't expect them to perform at that same ability, that same level. They won't be as ball deprived. They will have more possession in this game. So for that reason, I'm going to go for a Wolves win. You know what? Why not? 1-0 Wolves. Come on. Beat Spurs. Come on, Wolves. You're around the corner. Your stadium's down there. Yeah. Come on, man. You got to beat Wolves. I mean, Spurs. I mean, yeah. A lot of people have gone for a draw in this game, but for me, I've got to go with a victory. The next game is actually Arsenal versus Chelsea, but I'm going to do a preview on that tomorrow. Tomorrow, after the Liverpool game in between a 3 o'clock kickoffs, I'm going to do another live stream here. I've enjoyed it so far with you people, but let me get back to the comments right here before I carry on with the next game. Closest we came to glory was the Bilston Cup. Yo, that Bilston Cup, bro. Don't disrespect that. Yeah, we won that. We won the Bilston Cup. So Neto's out for the season. That's a problem, you know. I thought he was meant to be out to like November or something like that. Has it got worse? Has he had a setback or something? Let me know. Oh, setback. Here we go. All we have to do is setback. Nuno has no answers. A setback, yeah. As seen last year, he can't deal with a deep defense. You know, he can't. Even in that the previous season where you had Adama Traore on fire, that was a lot to do with Adama and Jimenez fighting each other, and he was gaining 1-0 victories in that Europa League season. You know what? We spent a lot of time on Wolves here. I like it though because we've had Wolves fans in the comments. You know what? Gotta give a big shout out to Wolves. You know, the stadium's just over there, so you gotta respect it, man. But you know what? Jake, we're from West Brom, you know, so is Kane starting? I don't think Kane will start. Nah, not for me. Not for me. I don't think Kane will start. I don't feel like we'll see Kane until the transfer window shut if he remains at Tottenham. It's too much tension. There's too much surrounding him at the moment. I don't think he can be fully focused on football, really, given the situation. So for me, Kane's not starting. Given the news that's been let out, he could play. He could feature. I don't think he will. Mate, I'm not. Don't hold me to ransom on that. Could happen. You know how Tottenham rely on Kane all the time. So we'll have to wait and see. So the next game, though, is West Ham versus Leicester. I'm just going to get the preview on that. This is quite a good game. I think this is a one to watch for the weekend as well. This one comes on Monday night, though. So we've got Monday night football. I like when Monday night football's on because I just think it makes the weekend last a bit longer. Do you know what I mean? So I do like it when it's on, especially because we've got midweek games as well. Arsenal are playing in the Carabao Cup against West Brom. You know, is anyone going to that game? It'd be nice to see. Or is anyone thinking of? I don't know. Arsenal fans, I don't know if they really... I can't really find any early team news for that one. But I'm going to have a look now. I think I've just found one here. West Ham. Before I go and find some team news onto this one, 4-2 victory against Newcastle. Defensively looked shaky. They didn't look the same solid unit as they did last season defensively. Were they really that solid though? Mikel Antonio and Said Benrahma, they linked up pretty well. Is this the season for Said Benrahma? I do rate him a lot. He's a very good player to watch on the eye. He's taking up that Jesse Lingard role in that centre attacking the midfield. Going to be interesting to see if he can carry on the form as he started so far. For Leicester, obviously that 1-0 victory, but as we were talking about Wolves, I thought they were pretty impressive in that game and should have taken at least a point away. Jamie Vardy's wonderful finish, though. You got to give it to the guy. So, but I do think that Leicester they're kind of warming up as well this season. They've got players like Vestergaard. They have struggled with injuries at the back with the likes of Fofana and Johnny Evans, so they won't be playing. I've got some team news here. There are worries that defender Angelo Ogbonna may not be fit to start the Premier League campaign, but as he passed the fitness test to be named in the starting 11 at Newcastle and came through that contest unscathed. Fullback Arthur Masuaku, so that's not really team news. Fullback Arthur Masuaku remains the only doubt. So yeah, he remains the only doubt really for West Ham. So that's going to be quite interesting for them to see. So yeah, we're going to see a similar team to what West Ham put up against Newcastle. Is there any Leicester team news as well? Let me find that out for you. Sorry. Has anyone got any Leicester team news that they could give me? Kelechi Iheanacho could play. Jamie Vardy. I presume that we would see the same team again. Leicester Mercury. Here we go. I'm giving out a few shout outs here. This has gone a bit longer because of unprepared. James Maddison's got a back injury. Return date yet to be confirmed. He took a whack in his back and he was moving okay, but I felt we needed more energy. He'll get some treatment and we'll see how he is. So James Maddison looks like he's going to be out. Ryan Bertrand's got a positive coronavirus test as well. So there's their left back issues again. Timothy Castagna, fractured eye socket. He suffered with that, and didn't he carry on playing with that as well? Yeah. Would he get taken off? I remember that in the Euros, and he looked quite bad. Johnny Evans, foot injury. Wesley Fofana, broken leg. So, and Papi Mendy, James Justin. So, yeah, only added injuries from the last game, and doubts is Ryan Bertrand and James Maddison, key players for me. You know what? West Ham's going to be an interesting game. What are you going for? Because I'm going to go for in this game. I was about to say 3. Oh, West Ham or Leicester is difficult. You know what? Go for it. I'm going to go for a West Ham win. They're at home. Even though their home ground and their fans don't really generate a lot of atmosphere or positive, bit like the Arsenal at the Emirates at the moment. But they did have a good season, so maybe the fans will feel a bit differently. Let me share this screen back with you guys. Here we go. So just a quick run through the games and the predictions. Liverpool, Burnley, I went for a 2-0 victory. Aston Villa, Newcastle, I went for a 3-1 win to Villa. Crystal Palace, Brentford, I said 3-1 Brentford, yeah. And then Leeds, Everton, I went for a 2-1 Leeds victory in the end. I changed my mind from a 2-2 draw to a Leeds victory. Man City, 4-0 against Norwich. Brighton, I went for a 2-0, if I can remember. 2-0 Brighton, yep. And then Southampton, Man United. What do I go? 2-0. Wait there, Jake. What's that? 3-3. Oh, yeah, that'll be a good game, that will. Is that the West Ham game you're on about there? Whew. Yeah, I look forward to that one. If that score stays the same. Am I still here, guys? Oh, yeah. I'm just moving a bit laggy on here. I hope I'm still here for you guys. But yeah. Oh, that would be a good game. So yeah, and then Wolves Spurs, going for that Wolves victory, 1-0 victory, and then West Ham, I'm taking the victory with a 2-1 win. That's it. Guys, I'm going to leave it there. Thank you for joining in and leaving your comments below. Hopefully you've enjoyed this one. It's been a bit of a long one, as you can see, but stay tuned for the Arsenal preview. If you are looking forward to that game, it's the game of the weekend. A lot of issues at Arsenal Football Club on the pitch and off the pitch, of course. There's protests outside the stadium before kickoff. Coronavirus outbreak with 4 players out. 2 of them are 2 strikers and the 2 highest paid players, I believe. Yeah, highest paid players. I think, yeah, Lacazette. Well, Aubameyang definitely is, and Lacazette is. Well, Lacazette's definitely one of our highest paid. Chelsea, Lukaku may have his first game. They've had a good start to the season. They're favourites for the title currently, given that Harry Kane hasn't gone to Manchester City yet, or will he? Won't he? We'll have to wait and see. But thank you very much, people, for joining this show. I've seen I've gone a little bit laggy. Hopefully that's not actually the case on YouTube. This might be the camera, but you know what? will carry on. I'll catch you tomorrow, guys. Enjoy your weekend, and we'll be back tomorrow. And if you're not back tomorrow, we'll be back for Monday. Tuesday for the review. Take care, guys.